We got some breaking news. Former University of Cincinnati Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback, the star quarterback, the guy who went to Texas Tech to try to get them to a national championship. Well, it looks like he's going to get that opportunity following the temporary injunction that was filed. A district court in Lubbock County, Texas, has granted the injunction, according to Pete Thamel, requested by Brendan Sorsby, which means he's set to be eligible to play for the Red Raiders this season. Now, he signed with Texas Tech this offseason in the portal, getting paid $5+ million, according to multiple reports. And this whole injunction, everything is stems from him gambling while being in betting on games, while being in the NCAA, all the way back to his time at Indiana. There's there's different accounts and reports of him at UC, and then all the way to now in this offseason. It's wild, guys. I'm surprised. I thought for sure we'd be talking about him in the supplemental draft. That's why I keep making the Cleveland Browns joke. Not that they would be interested in him, but someone would. But it looks like he's going to play for Texas Tech this year.
Mind is blown right now. Jacob was the first one to come across this on X a little bit ago, and I was just like, I was like, what did you say? Are we hearing this correctly?
No, I don't think it's an overreaction to say this is one of the worst decisions that could ever be made if Sorsby is granted eligibility this year. There's very few things, in my opinion, in sports that are more clear-cut than gambling on your own team. There's nuance to almost every single discussion about eligibility or playing time or anything else with suspensions. With this, there's not, to me. If you bet on a team that you are on the roster of, you are done. It needs to be that cut and dry. And the fact that we're even muddying the waters with preliminary injunctions from Lubbock, Texas Tech grad judges or whatever it is, that is disgusting to college sports, and it's taking away any kind of amateurism that there is left. And obviously the NIL and the transfer portal and all that has already started with this, but when you're pushing irreparable harm can be done to Brendan Sorsby because he can't cash NIL checks, maybe the irreparable harm was done when you bet on your own team 4 years ago. So I don't know what the discussion is for this. Obviously, the injunction was passed by a Lubbock County judge earlier this morning. The NCAA will appeal this. This will go back to court. And hopefully, and this is the first time I'll say this in my life, hopefully the NCAA wins.
I completely agree. I think this needs to be the case that you're like making the statement with, because if you don't, you're just opening up the door down the road for more cases like this. And like you said, it's muddying the waters. And I worry about what kind of situation we could get into down the road as more players see, oh, Brendan Sorsby was able to get his, was able to be reinstated and could play. More players could potentially take that risk of gambling on their own team if Sorsby is able to be granted eligibility. So
much of the conversation about granting him this injunction, working with him through the rehab and everything else with his gambling addiction, came around the premise that he sought out the help himself. It was now reported over 2 weeks ago that was not the case. It was reported to Texas Tech. It was brought up from a gambling commission. And then, before it was made public, he sought out this rehab to try to, at least in my opinion, cover it up, get in front of it in a way. And that is completely off the table for me, trying to protect someone looking out for themselves when that's not the case anymore. I think this is one of the most cut and dry stories in NCAA history when it comes to eligibility. And I cannot believe we are sitting here having this discussion right now.
So here's why I think it's going to stick. As James Rapien reported this, Sorsby will serve a 2-game suspension, and that's it. So no supplemental draft, out the window. It feels like everybody's like, I know you said the NCAA is going to appeal. All of the top people are just like, yeah, he's going to play. And so buckle up, he's going to play. It is wild. It is wild to say, one, the circus that's going to follow. Two, the fact that this got through. And when we saw the judge, who's a Texas Tech grad, I thought, all right, well, that's just that area. Like, that makes sense. Like, in that area, of course, it's going to be a Texas Tech grad. But, man, to see this go through, I'm surprised as well, because I really thought from an NFL side, NCAA side, that's your world. You pay more closer attention to it. He was on Nick Saban's staff at Alabama, and he's a big college football guy. From an NFL side, they were all talking supplemental draft. I mean, Jeremy Fowler, who we had on the show last week, he just tweeted this. He said, teams are high on Sorsby. Feedback from them is that he's a first-round talent who might have gone late 1 back in April had he been in the quarterback pool. Quote, excellent and easy thrower, big athlete, wins off schedule, can run for touchdowns. A name to watch for the 2027 draft. I don't even know if I agree with half of that. And I watched him at UC as far as first-round talent goes. But the NFL was doing its homework, thinking that Sorsby was going to be available in the supplemental draft. I think that was a very real thing from that side of it. And so to go from that to this, where not only is there a chance he's playing, but he is playing, and it's a 2-game suspension, and this injunction is going to work. And that suspension means that's the penalty, basically. I mean, that's the penalty for this. Wild that we're talking about 2 games for a guy who gambled on his team, even if it was a team that he wasn't necessarily getting snaps for.
Gets you 2 games, then you get to pick him. I'm sure Texas Tech is thrilled that he's suspended against Abilene Christian and Oregon State and not any big-time games on their schedule.
Think they're going to be okay against Abilene Christian?
I don't know. It would be funny now if they win that game with Texas to try to play Texas week 1 and then Sorsby's suspended for it. That'd be fun.
There's no way they do that now. Not that it was going to happen anyway. But
now, the Sorsby conversation here is obviously a very unique one with the gambling aspect of it. But I think this is a bigger conversation across college sports right now with the problem of the appeals and the temporary injunctions. We saw this at my alma mater, Alabama, for basketball this season with Charles Bediako coming in and getting a temporary injunction from a Tuscaloosa judge. We saw it with Trinidad Chambliss all throughout the offseason. Was that 4 or 5 lawsuits between the NCAA and Chambliss to try to get his eligibility for this year at Ole Miss? We see this everywhere. Joey Aguilar last year at Tennessee, Knoxville judge steps in, grants him an injunction for the season. There is a massive problem with the people that are being allowed to rule on these cases. These are alumni in the cities of these colleges most of the time, and it's not hard to figure out how they're getting to these conclusions. They're fans of these teams for the most part, and it is an opinion-based ruling. There's no facts, there's no backstory to go off of here with a lot of these things, so it is just, whatever you feel on that day, and you can justify either side of it. So if it's the star quarterback of your favorite college, a college you went to, you're going to lean one way or the other. I don't know what the workaround is here. These are public universities. These are kids, appealing to go back to school. So they have to go in the counties the universities are in. But if these judges are going to grant eligibility for quarterbacks of their alumni schools, that's a huge problem that needs to get fixed. And I think the only way you can fix it is getting to the CSC and the commissions for NIL and all these big next steps about combining these conferences that nobody really wants to talk about. But this slope is getting a little too slippery now, and that ball is rolling down, and I don't really know how you put this back in.
Do we think he wagered on whether or not he would be eligible?
Oh, jeez.
And the fact that that's why, like the fact that that's a non-zero question is why it's shocking that he's eligible. Right? Like I said that tongue in cheek and to be funny, but at the same time it's like, well, shrug. Yeah. Which you don't want that. Like that's it. Because if that happens and fans view it that way as a sport, things really change in a major way.
No question. Oh, no question about it. And that's why I think this is the one thing that you cannot have questions about, because it's not one player and what they're doing for the sport. At this point, when we're having this many conversations throughout an offseason about Brendan Sorsby and his gambling, the conversation becomes, is the sport still above board? Are these players gambling across the country and we just don't know it?
When he throws a pick six, and it's the most obvious one in the world, people are going to be like, well, what was that?
You're always going to question it.
And that's the...
And it doesn't help that the score bug and the top right and the broadcast is brought to you by DraftKings and ESPN Bet in the bottom left. And none of that is great when we're talking about all of this stuff, but it's so prevalent now that I think it's even more important to cut this out of the game, because you can't even consume sports without gambling content. It's almost impossible now. You go down to Great American Ballpark, there's 4 different sports books on the outfield wall and then one across the street. So it's not possible. So as much as these keep permeating the game and the sports we watch, they have to cut out any kind of question about players and coaches getting on the wrong side of it.
When we expect the NCAA to appeal this. They put out a statement a few minutes ago about the ruling. They strongly disagree with the court's ruling in Sorsby's case and is deeply concerned about the damaging, far-reaching, and broadly destabilizing ramifications of this outcome, which undermines and corrupts the integrity of sports. The NCAA is committed to supporting student-athlete mental health, but also continue to aggressively defend against actions that defraud college athletics and threaten competitive integrity, such as betting on one's own sport. Exactly the point that you were making before.
Yeah.
The judge also said that he needs to continue and engage in treatment for his gambling addiction and anxiety, which was cited in the report. But if you're just joining us, Brendan Sorsby will be eligible for the 2026 season and play quarterback for Texas Tech. He will serve a 2-game suspension. We'll certainly have more on this as it breaks, but that is the breaking news.